Hello everybody and welcome to this month's Anime Paint Night. For this month we have the character Ichigo Kurosaki from the anime Bleach. Now inside the kit you should have the line art of Ichigo here. In addition you should have a reference sheet so we know his colors. Yeah, he's got a lot of black, white, red, and orange. Yep. Now also we have our watercolor kit if you requested it. And you should have a paintbrush included. Make sure you have some paper towels, some water, but let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so first things first, as always, we usually like to start with the skin tone. As you can see, I've already started a little bit, the recording messed up a bit, but you're going to go for the brown, and you're going to be very mindful. Don't be too generous with it. Make sure you've got a little bit of water, wipe off a little bit of the pigment from the paper towel, just to make sure that we're not oversaturating the skin tone, okay? So we're just going to make sure that we've got it good there. Then we have his hand, which is the next thing that's exposed. He doesn't really have a lot of skin exposed. His Soul Reaper attire, Soul Reaper Quincy attire, covers a lot of his body. So the main things that we have are the face, the hand, and just a smidgen of his arm, which I believe I'll remember to get. I think. Will I get it? I did! Yes! So now that we've done the skin tone, we'll move on to another. Alright, the next thing that we're going to work on, we're going to go for the red. We're going to go for his pauldrons. This is going to be a very quick portion. In between the white of his armor, pauldrons there, it's a little bit of red. So that's all we're going to do, just get a little bit of red and add some to it. Now, he has one pauldron on his left shoulder. If I'm looking in the mirror, it'd be left shoulder, but it's his right side there. And then on the bottom left-hand corner of the picture, we'll have his pauldron on his right hip. Yes, indeed. And that's pretty much it. We'll move on to the next detail. Alright, the next thing that we're going to work on is, it might sound a little odd, but we're going to work on the white sections. So we're going to go for the black. We're going to use a lot of water and then rinse and repeat, wiping the brush on the paper towel, making sure that there's not a lot of pigment. And we're going to go for the bandages on his Zanpakuto. Yes, a sword. So we'll do this. We're going to hang out around the edges, as you can see, a little bit of the black-gray vibe there, just to kind of have a little bit of shading, just to make sure the white pops out, and so that we're actually doing something with the white, not just going to leave it exposed. White isn't just solely white, it is also shades. Yes, because what we have here, we're not necessarily saying that like all the things that are white on Ichigo are white. I'm not saying that, but we're just saying that in order for it to pop, giving us something to do, we're going to go for the shading. Might learn something too. Also, if you saw, we did the very thin sliver on his Zanpakuto, which is usually like silverish and stuff like that. Yeah. Then we're going to go for the inner part of his sleeve, which usually, yes, is white, but when you have shading on white, it is, as we've talked about with the bandages, gray. Yes, we're adding a little bit of that. As you can see with this design for the line art this time around, I tried to combine a few different things. Like I took inspiration from the Volume 1 manga cover, where he's like holding his like original, like unawakened Zanpakuto and such. Then I have his like most recent Soul Reaper Quincy attire going on, and the sword itself though, I tried to like pay homage to like the arc where he's like saving Rukia in the Soul Society and stuff like that, when he like activated his like big cleaver looking Zanpakuto. So I just wanted to pay homage to Mr. Tite Kubo, the author of Bleach, a little bit. Just Ichigo's come a long way, and I didn't want to just be like, yeah, we're just gonna do this still picture that we have of this character, and I just like line arted it. Like, no, I wanted to do something a little bit unique, which is why it looks a little awkward as well. But I hope you enjoy the process still. But yeah, now that you've done a little bit of the shading on the white portions, we're going to start moving on to the next color that's pretty prominent throughout the whole of Ichigo's attire, black. We'll see there. Alrighty, it's time to work on the rest of his garb, his attire, and that's going to require a lot of use of the color black. Now, if you look at his lower part of his robes, he's got like the white and black motif going on, so we're going to add the black to the stripes that are at the bottom part of his hakama, yes, which is the samurai Soul Reaper garb that he wears, very flowy. I keep saying sometimes Soul Reaper / Quincy stuff, which is like lore stuff, and I don't really want to get into it, but I will take advantage of this time to talk a little bit about like my memories with it. So like Ichigo, I remember like first encountering this character when I was like young enough to be like, yeah, I'm still going to like school and everything, like middle school, but old enough where I can actually start like comprehending anime and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And he was like a really, really cool character to me, and the world that he was like in, like subjected to is what I'll say, was super cool. You know, just like a regular high school kid, you know, taking care of his two sisters. Unfortunately, his mother died in a terrible accident, and just out of the blue, he comes to these powers after encountering this mysterious girl, because he can see like these monsters that are just roaming around causing a lot of mischief that no one else can see except for a handful of people, himself included, this strange girl. And later on we find out that his siblings and his father can see them as well. So he becomes what we call a Soul Reaper, which is these people who defend others from these like monsters that they can't even see, you know? But then like it gets wild. There's a whole soul society where there's a bunch of Soul Reapers and everything, and like there's people like the girl that we mentioned before that was strange, they become friends, but now he has to save her because her brother took her back and whatever, and some of the Soul Reapers aren't really Soul Reapers, or like they betray the others. It's a wild ride, so I highly recommend it. The manga I think is done. The anime got like a Disney Plus launch and stuff like that to finish up the final season and everything. Yeah, I highly recommend it. So as we were talking, as you can see, we're still chugging along with making sure the black portions are covered. We've got our sleeves done, and we have the hakama already done, and we're going to make sure that we cover all of our bases to make sure that is good. Now, the sword here, we have, like I mentioned it before, his Zanpakuto. How do I explain Zanpakutos? Zanpakutos are like it just looks like a regular, well, no, it doesn't look like a regular sword at all. It looks like a cleaver, but it's like a sword that has something living inside of it, or the sword itself is alive and it only reveals itself to its wielder when they've proven themselves and stuff like that. Super cool. This Zanpakuto, even though like it's, you know, bulky and chunky, Ichigo can like one hand wield it. So cool. Reminds me of Ike from Fire Emblem, but it's a different anime painting. Now we're actually going to paint the sword. Now one of the things I did there is I made sure to be really, really quick with the swipes of the brush, because I didn't want to have it be like, I didn't want to miss out on having a little bit of the shine, because it is a little bit of metal, you know, a little bit of metal. The whole thing is metal. So I didn't want it to be like as dark as the sleeve. I wanted to have a little bit of reflection. So one of the things that I did is, as I was doing the quick swipes, I made sure to have some space that was actually exposed by white, so that when I go over it back again with a little bit of water, we're able to still have a little bit of that metallic sheen. So we want to make sure we maintain there. Yes. You're going to use a little water to lighten up the pigment as well, and that'll be able to make it have that metallic sheen a little bit more too. Some gradient, But yeah, now we're going to move on to our last details now that we have this portion done. Now for the last details. So for per usual, our anime paint night conclusion usually is the hair. Ichigo, in Japanese, I believe means strawberry. And Ichigo is a redhead. So, yeah, that's probably the little joke that Tight Kubo was going for, but we're going to go for the orange. Also, if you notice, I did his eyes already. His eyes are orange as well. They're blazing orange and such. If that's inaccurate, I'm so sorry. I'm just going off of the reference sheet. I think like one of them like kind of looks like it's red, but I'm going with orange as a happy middle ground. But he's very typical anime spiky hair, but I like the spikes. I like how it's like not crazy like Naruto spikes, not ridiculous like Goku's. It's just like you got a little messy hair, got a little mop top and stuff like that. So it's very cool. It's a very fun one to do, and I'm always a big fan of the color orange. Looks nice. We're also going to do a little bit of the yellow for a little bit of the highlights. If you look in the reference sheet, one of them has like, I will say like it almost looks like Super Saiyan type hair and stuff like that, but we're not trying to do that. We're just trying to add a little bit of depth, a little bit of highlights to the hair as well. But yeah, yes, I hope you've enjoyed working on this one. Again, if you didn't feel like, doing the colors like his base colors, I understand they're very monochromatic. I hope you had fun doing your own colors, and we'd love to see it, so feel free to send it to kellis at suffolkva.us, so we can like share it with everyone else too. Oh yeah, I forgot his wristband. His wristband is also black as well. Yes. Now the last part we're gonna do is a little bit more shading for the skin tone. We're gonna go for the brown. Gonna take away the pigment a little bit and just dab a little bit, add a little bit of depth to, his neck, his collarbone, the hair that's covering his upper part of his face, the forehead, his cheeks, some wrinkles. And I'm going to go to the hand. We're going to do the same thing on his knuckles and some of the bruises on his hand. That's right. But really hope you enjoyed this anime paint night. Thank you so much for supporting the library, and we will see you next month for our next character. But be proud of what you've done, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.